Some locomotives are built to replace outdated designs, some are built for one-off jobs, and some are built to trial new technologies. In 1932, however, one engine was built in Belgium, seemingly not for any of the previously listed reasons, but simply because they could. Introducing Belgian State Railways number 2096. Boasting 2 cabs, 2 fireboxes, 2 boilers, 8 cylinders, a total length of 31 metres and a total weight of 248 tonnes, it's fair to say that this Goliath of an engine was an absolute unit. On top of that, it used an 062 plus 24242 plus 260 wheel arrangement, which, put simply, meant it had 20 driving wheels and 10 unpowered guiding wheels, giving it the unique trait of being a quadruplex locomotive. It was basically 2 engines stitched together. Its length meant it had to be double-ended, as there was no way it would fit on any pre-existing turntables. It also gave the engine the title of world's largest steam locomotive, a title it held until the creation of the Union Pacific Big Boys. The boilers of the engine were both slightly skewed to allow firemen better access to the fireboxes. The fireboxes had a water wall between them to prevent them from getting too hot. The coal was stored in bunkers on one side of each boiler, and the boilers were positioned so that coal would fall under them to the fireman's side of the cab for easy access. The engine also had a driver's cab at either end of the main body to provide the driver with an easier time seeing ahead. On top of this, the boilers had a unique system of their own, this being an early version of the Franco-Crosty boiler design. Exhaust smoke and steam from the cylinders and fire was routed through a feed water heater in the engine's water tanks, essentially preheating the water before it was fed into the boiler in order to help maintain boiler pressure and improve efficiency. The feed water heater was set up almost like an additional boiler, and given that each boiler had their own feed water heater, you could make the argument the engine had a total of 4 boilers altogether. The craziest part of all of this was that it actually worked. It developed roughly 3,000 horsepower and was so strong that its pulling power was limited by the strength of its couplings. It was limited to 60 km an hour while in service, and despite its length was able to traverse relatively tight corners with ease. So why did they build it? Well, frankly, nobody's really sure. It was well beyond anything Belgian railways needed at the time for goods work, and its limited speed meant it was practically useless for passenger services. Its sheer size, despite its dexterity, would have made storing it a hassle, and it's likely that with so many extra wheels, cylinders, joints and so on, it would be much more difficult to maintain. Not to mention the fact it required an additional person to help fire the second boiler. Quite frankly, the only reason I think of as to why is, why not? It was displayed at the National Exposition in 1935, but then taken out of service shortly after and put into storage. Some believe it was intended to be a proof of concept, as not long after, designs emerged for a bigger engine using a similar layout intended for the Russian market. This engine followed a 2442 plus 2882 plus 2442 hexaplex wheel arrangement for a total of 32 driving wheels. This, however, never seemingly made it past the planning stage. In 1943, the Quadraplex was found by occupying German forces, who requested it be repurposed. It was essentially cut in half and converted into 2 engines. These worked around North Germany before coming into Russian ownership in 1945 and being sent to work in Poland. The last one to be seen working was at Krakow in 1955. Afterwards, nobody really knows what happened to them. The Quadraplex then is perhaps one of the weirder engines to ever be built. Not only was it a quadruplex, a design that most railways saw as unfeasible to pull off, but it was also very powerful, surprisingly efficient, actually worked, and was built in, of all places, Belgium. It was far too overkill for Belgian railways, and the design was never really adopted anywhere else. Perhaps then the Quadraplex should be remembered, not only as a bizarre machine, but also as a testament to the idea that sometimes the best response to the question of why is simply, why not? Subscribe for more.